And sometimes they slip up. If you remember Antonio Sumlin, who testified pretty recently, he didn't know Winnie Lee's name. So he said, what's his slime? And he changed it. He stopped. He took a little pause, and he meant what his nickname. But he said, what's his slime name? Those kind of clues or slip-ups, remember those, because they're important. Here's another example. This is Deamonte Kendrick on the left with a hat that has a big rat and a big X on it. And on the right is defendant Stillwell's tattoos. Oh, Mirton, you heard that, the code of silence. And on his chest, the price of loyalty is wealth. The price of disloyalty is death. So these witnesses who say incriminating things about them in a police station or outside of court, when they come in here and are sitting in a witness box 10 feet from them, how do you think they know this? That's these defendants' own words about people who come in and testify against themselves or others. That's their feelings on it. Things that these witnesses know very well. Kenneth Copeland. This is Kenneth Copeland outside of the criminal courtroom.
Last words and shout outs before we get you out of here.
You know, shout out to the game. YSL for life. You know what I mean?
YSL for life. And these are photographs he's had. He has known Shannon Stillwell for almost the vast majority of his life. Most of these photos to show the length of time. Look at these photos with Kendrick. These are all photos with Kenneth Copeland and both of these defendants in trial. They are friends. They know each other very well. And Kenneth Copeland would not want to say something, I argue, because of his bias and motive that would want to hurt him. That's just common sense. And think about that when you hear what people say to a police station when it's just Detective Gaither and Dennis, or what they say in this courtroom. Quindarius Zachary, outside the court.
Yeah, big Bruce Knight, slime takeover. Oh, fuck you mean? I got all my niggas with me when Bruce Knight. Nigga, where we at, y'all?
Bruce,
yeah, nigga slap, nigga fuck wrong with y'all, man. Plenty ammo for you monkey niggas.
Yeah,
big guns, beating right now.
Slant.
Now that's a video from May of 2015. Roughly February, March, April, 4 months after the murder of Diamond Thomas. That's what Quindarius Zachary's saying. You don't think he knows who did what? I argue to you. And then when he comes into court, right, he doesn't recognize a snake emoji, or he makes jokes about the color green, things that he thinks will hurt them. You all pick up on this. I saw you write notes. You can see their reaction. You can see if someone's uncomfortable, comfortable. All of those things you all are equipped with and can use when you weigh testimony. Parties to a crime. This is a principle that's going to come up in this case. Parties to a crime. Think about this. 4 people go to rob a bank. One of them is the getaway driver. One of them, I'm going to go run in and get the money. The third one's going to go in and do a distraction. And the fourth one has a gun in case it's needed. The driver never gets out of the car. They get to the bank. The guy goes in to get the money. The security guard realizes it's a robbery, pulls out his gun, and the guy with the gun behind him shoots and strikes the security guard. And then they all 4 get away and leave. As parties to a crime, they all played a role or a piece in that crime. So they would all be legally guilty of that murder if those facts came out into a trial. So party to a crime, it's not necessarily the person who pulled the trigger. It could be the driver. Now, this is going to show you an illustration of what I talked about, because this isn't at first stick out. So you have 4 people planning a bank robbery, all with different roles. And if it was either intentional murder or, say, the security guard shot and killed one of the robbers, it could be a felony murder that comes up. And so all of them would be guilty in this fact pattern of that. So in this case, what Copeland and Zachary say about defendant Kendrick is he was driving the Infiniti Q50. If he's driving that Infiniti Q50 while Shannon Stillwell, Deamonte and Bowen are shooting 7.62 and 9mm shell casings into the body of Diamond Thomas with Justin Cobb doo-wop, that's party to a crime. That's an example in this case. And it will come up in some of the overt acts that we're going to talk about soon.
Mr. Adkins.
Yes, Your Honor.
I need to interrupt you for just a minute. I'm sorry. In the overflow room, they can't hear you.
It sounds like, Your Honor, this microphone may have... Yes, Your Honor. If you let me know if that helps fix that. I got to fix this belt buckle here real quick. Well, I'll hold it for right now. Now, sorry, I want to talk about the crimes that I'm going to talk about. So in green is what I'm going to talk to you about, which count 51 is criminal street gang. Count 50 is criminal street gang of defendant Stillwell. He's on the right, and Kendrick is on the left. And count 1 RICO applies to both. So both are charged with the murder of Donovan Thomas. Kendrick has this count 57 participation in criminal street gang activity for the marijuana and firearms, like street gang activity during the commission of a felony for the May 9th, 2022. These street gang charges, which I'm going to talk to you about at the end, pertain to the murder of Shamel Drinks, a gang-related murder that the evidence has shown Shannon committed along with Deamonte Garlington, Miles Farley, and Carmavius Nichols. But first, I'm going to talk about RICO, which is count 1, which both are charged with. So I want to talk to you about conspiracy in general. And I definitely think the microphone's working now, Your Honor. So one crime, you rob someone, you do an arson, you would look at that case, did they go and set fire? Did they go and steal? One specific place, time, and perpetrator. You've already heard about a conspiracy to do armed robbery when I use that bank robbery analogy. RICO is no different in terms of this. The general concept is they're charged with conspiracy to commit racketeering. So I'm going to have to explain to you what is RICO, what is conspiracy to commit RICO, and then you as jurors, with the evidence that have been presented, will reach the only reasonable conclusion that they're guilty of that count. But you need to know what RICO is first. And there's 2 ways to violate RICO. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it bite by bite through RICO so you can understand the 2 ways that RICO can be committed and what conspiracy to commit RICO is. And we'll walk through this together. I've already explained conspiracy in general. Now, this bank, I've used the bank analogy. If this group who robbed the bank, they don't have to be some sophisticated mob syndicate. If those 4 are just sitting around and say, let's be the bank robbing boys, maybe we'll sell drugs on the side, and we'll shoot people, the rival bank group, and we're going to call ourselves, the BRC, bank robbing group. If they got tattoos of BRC, they got necklaces of BRC, they say, hey, we are BRC. If they went and all knowingly and willingly agreed to be a part of that, knowing that a pattern of racketeering, which I will explain to you, would be committed, that concept is what we'll be talking about in general. It's not any different in general. It's conspiracy and RICO. And when you put the 2 together, that's what they're charged with. So let's walk through this. This is from the indictment, which you will have with you when you deliberate. I'm not going to read off this right now, but page 12 of the indictment is an important page. It lays out what the state alleges the criminal objectives of the conspiracy are, and that they violated, there's a subsection A and a subsection B, which we're going to talk about. So remember page 12 of the indictment, because it will come up multiple times. So what is knowingly and willfully joined? Look at what they do, what they say, and crimes that they commit. If you wanted to figure out if the bank robbing crew or if YSL, if someone knowingly and willingly joined them, that's Kendrick on the bottom, with slat on his left forearm and a snake that goes from his stomach to his neck, and YSL a little bit underneath his Adam's apple. Do you think he knowingly and willfully joined YSL? He got a permanent tattoo on 3 different spots of his body, one of which very close to his face. That is something you can use and consider. Oftentimes with criminal conspiracies, they don't have a written contract. They don't have a, you're not going to have that coffee room table. Let's all agree to be a criminal enterprise. We all hereby today on January 1st, 2000. From here on out, we're an enterprise. That's often not how it works. So you got to look at what they say, what they do, and you permanently get a tattoo, that's a pretty strong indicator if you're willingly and knowingly a part of this. Shannon Stillwell, often wearing clothing, saying stuff, me and my slimes above the law. You know, you've heard that and seen that clothing line, which yes, they can play it off that it's just an innocent clothing line, but it says slime. It's typical human being, wipe your effing nose, right? And you've heard from gang detectives that wipe your nose is not some, joke. It's about murdering someone, it's acting violence. So that's Kendrick in the middle, next to a slack graffiti with a red bandana. How they act, say, and do over time, those are the clues to know that someone willingly joined a conspiracy. So let's break this down a little bit further.
We need to switch it.
It's came out again, Your Honor. This is probably the easiest element while we switch this mic. 2 or more conspirators. Oh, thank you, Sergeant. Thank you. So, that, you can't have a conspiracy with one person, right? So, I think we all can agree that should be an element that's easy to check. You've heard from ample, it doesn't have to just be the 28 indicted co-conspirators. You will see in that indictment that it states on page 12 that it also includes unnamed or unindicted co-conspirators, if you find that they're part of the conspiracy. So keep that in mind when you go back and deliberate. But yes, one of the elements, beyond a reasonable doubt, is 2 or more. I think that element, I'm not going to spend any more time on that one. You've heard from ample people you've seen in the witness stand that are 2 or more of YSL. This just illustrates that point. Now, agreement. This is another important element of RICO to kind of understand. How do you know that someone agreed? Like I said, it doesn't have to be expressed. It doesn't have to be where did they sign the YSL ledger. I'm going to join. I'm in. You rarely see stuff like that. There's no such ledger in this case. It's mutual but unspoken understanding. I say actions speak louder than words. If you want to know how someone believes or if they agree, what do they do? So I'm going to show you some examples of agreement. And a lot of the evidence that I'll talk about, it has multiple purposes. So we will talk about and we will see what can prove agreement can also prove if they knowingly and willfully join. Let's see. I'll keep working on this now. So,
You can just hold one.
yes, Your Honor. Sounds like it's working now. So, what else can you use? Remember we talked about circumstantial evidence? So, circumstantial evidence inferred from the nature of the acts done, relation of the parties, and the interest of the conspirators. What do they have to gain? Is it for something to further the group's interest? How do you know someone agrees? Look at what they do. And I argue to you that the evidence has shown that they've all knowingly and willfully agreed. Take where we started, or take the 2 murders. Shannon Stillwell, January 10th, 2015, murders Donovan Thomas. March 14th, 2022, Shannon Stillwell, with 3 other YSL members in both times, murders Shamel Drinks. If you have to ask yourself, did he knowingly and willfully agree to be a part of YSL criminal enterprise with 2 gang murders? That's an easy question. That's the most clear example of if someone murders a rival gang member twice, I think it's pretty clear that they knowingly and willfully agreed, regardless if they signed on the dotted line. Same with other crimes and acts.
The same shit that got Biggie and Tupac killed, little fuck, nigga. Pussy ass, nigga, get your bitch ass killed.
YSL for life.
Yeah,
Can't come that line.
Hey, gang, you bring your pussy ass down here, you gonna see me. I'm at your fucking neck. Fuck anybody.
So again, what do they say? I mean, this is Kendrick and Wooney Lee. You know, you have all the Make America slime again. You have Kendrick with YSL pennant. And you have Shannon Stillwell where someone in the background says YSL for life. That's just one example. You've obviously seen and heard from multiple. But what do they say? What do they do? Are they publicly or actively or oftenly saying, yes, I'm a part of this YSL, there's an us and a them? Yes. I think it's pretty clear that they have. Now, some of this I've talked about, actions or evidence. So let me give you a concrete example we saw just a couple weeks ago with Viverito. So YFN Lucci flyer. This is from Marquavius Huey's phone, where him and Jeffrey Williams, they send the text message, the flyer of Lucci. In 6 text messages, this principle of agreement, you're going to see agreement in action. This text is about to come up where all that's said, right? Flyer, Jeffrey Williams says, where's that at? Claremont, slatty handle, stay very low, slat for sure, been out the way. They didn't say murder. They didn't say stab. They didn't say shoot. But in 6 text messages, it's readily clear that they're talking about enacting violence on YFN Lucci. That's agreement in one, barely a screen of a text message. That principle shows you, and think about this example throughout. What do they say with one another? What do they do with one another? That's how you can know agreement. It's just like you all have family and friends. You may text one word, and they know what you're saying. I'm heading home. You don't say the address, right? Agreement can be inferred with very little words, especially with people who know each other very well. And YSL has its own lingo, so they don't have to say much. Slatty handle, he knows he will handle it. Other examples. What it does not require. I've covered most of this. You know, it doesn't require, like I said, physical meetings, even though we have that in this case. Knowledge of the details of the conspiracy. I argue we have that in this case, considering that Kenneth, Copeland, Quindarius, Zachary, Walter Murphy, all of these individuals have given statements with evidence that's been corroborated that real crimes happened in real places and they knew about it. So a lot of these, you don't have to have them, but you actually do in this case. The last one, the identity of all the co-conspirators. You wouldn't have to know if you had 200 members of YSL. I don't know the exact number, but you wouldn't have to know every single one. Obviously, I argue to you that they know quite a few because you see the same individuals speaking, talking, and acting in concert together throughout the case. But none of these things are necessary to reach agreement. So, and there's a slight lag on this Zoom with this clicker. So I'm gonna move through this. So at its core, the crime is the agreement. The overt acts let you know that it's real. So this is important. They're charged with conspiracy to violate RICO. So the agreement to violate RICO, that's the crime they're charged with. These overt acts that you've heard from and we're about to walk through, those let you know that this isn't just fanciful, this isn't just in their minds, it's a real conspiracy. And in this case, and we're going to explain what RICO A and B is, they've actually committed the crimes. So it's like you're asking you, did this group of individuals agree to conspire to commit all of these crimes, racketeering activity? The best evidence of that they did is they actually went and shot multiple people, murdered people, robbed for the street gang. That lets you know that there's not much to say when you actually do the crimes that you're alleged to have just conspired to commit. It'd be like if you're asked about the bank robbery conspiracy and all they do is just talk about the bank robbery, get the items, they go and buy a gun, but they never do a robbery. Fast forward, they've done 20 robberies, 50 robberies over a decade, and you're asked, did that group of bank robbers intend to be part of a bank robbing crew? You'd obviously say yes. It's common sense because of what they actually did. That concept is important. Like I said, the overt act lets us know that the conspiracy is alive and well. And I'll argue to you, going back to credibility, the conspiracy is alive and well in this courtroom with deceiving in this witness stand.